One of the only complaints I've had about this show, I think in the last couple episodes, was the lack of sort of backstory of like Della Street, and and wanting a little more detail on even Perry Mason or Drake, even Pete. And this episode gave us that. This was the episode where it's filling in those blanks, explaining the character motivations, what they were doing, before the series.
I think it also, if you look at just the way it was structured, they say it's a limited series, but I think they're just trying to see how successful it will be. But I love the fact that they didn't spend another, the rest of this season basically setting up him being a lawyer. We had talked about it. We had a couple comments talking about how, you know, this is the path that they were going to take. I like that they did it early in this episode, so that way we still get a couple episodes of the trial and all that instead of waiting until the last episode of it being the trial and, leaving that on a cliffhanger. I want them. It's good to see that I feel like they're going to contain the story just in case it doesn't get picked up, but I like that they made him a lawyer this early in the season.
This was the exactly the halfway point. 5 in. Now we've got 5 left. So yeah, we go from that sort of origin story to courtroom drama. For the next 5 episodes. And you're right. They could have easily spent 2, 3, 4 plus episodes of him training for the bar and getting ready. Trying to become a lawyer. And they just said, "Fuck all that. We're jumping right in."
I think there's only 8 episodes though.
Is there 8? I thought there were 10. Let me double
Not
check.
according to IMDb.
I could be. Yeah, I might have been wrong.
It is 8.
Is it 8?
Yep.
Well, damn it.
Yep.
You said IMDb?
Yep.
Well then.
Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. August 9th is the last one.
Okay, so then we got 3. Okay,
Yep.
so the
6,
3.
7,
So the
and
trial will be 3 episodes. Okay, I was wrong. Well, when is Lovecraft Country?
The 17th, then following week.
Okay. So I don't know why I had 10 in my mind. All right, so okay, past the halfway point. So okay, 3 episodes will be the trial. But yeah, they could have easily had, at the end when they're like, you have what, 2 weeks or whatever till you got to take the bar, and I was immediately thinking, okay, that's going to be him practicing and studying for that, and they were just like, no, we're just going to jump, we're going right into it.
And I loved that because I was talking about it before, that how, like nowadays, if it's still pretty much the same. I don't have to have a lawyer degree to be able to take the bar exam and be a lawyer. However, you're not going to be able to cram that much knowledge into your head prior to taking that test, prior to taking the bar exam. So to me, I imagine back then it was a different test. It was probably a little bit easier. There wasn't as many court cases and, law to study back then. But even back then, learning as much as they had to learn in that short of a period of time to be able to pass that kind of exam, to me shows that how smart Perry is. And there was the big scene, in the kitchen and stuff that showed that too. But
yeah, it sets up the idea, that he's very intelligent, and that he did have help. And the guy that came in, which we'll talk about because I did some research on him, he basically stated that this was the same test that had been around a very long time, and he was, basically going to give him the cliff notes. It sounded to how to pass this thing. But yeah, welcome to the channel. This is Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer.
hello.
And we're going to be discussing this week's episode of Perry Mason, episode 5. There's Spencer's dog in the background. If you go listen to our review for The Guest, which went up Friday, at about 35 minutes into that review, you can hear Spencer falling downstairs. We were going to cut it, but I left it in. Thanks to that dog. He went to take the dog out, and shit went really bad. We got it. The audio it's funny. He's not badly hurt. I mean, he is a little hurt. Leg swollen, skinned up, bleeding. Yeah. So yeah, go check that out. 35 minutes and you'll hear it. I'm gonna put up a follow up with the isolated audio and the pictures because he gave me the pictures of the wounds. I'll probably put it up this week. So yeah, go click like on that video. Show him some love for the wound. The only person I know who's been injured doing a podcast. That's pretty crazy. But
I'm sure there's
yeah,
others, but the number's probably not very high.
I thought there were 10 episodes. Shit, that sort of bums me out a little bit. I was hoping we had a few more, but if they wrap it up, well in the next 3, then I'm fine with it.
Well, I think
And
that
we got
this set them on that path.
mhm.
That
And we have
they'll be
Lovecraft
able
Country, which I'm looking forward to. So this episode, EB did die.
Yes.
He did commit suicide. We knew we knew he was committing suicide at the end of last episode, but we weren't sure if it was gonna take. It did.
I figured he was going to be in the hospital for a little while, trying to recover, but I didn't. I liked how they set it up to where it didn't look like a suicide. Not only because I think they alluded to it later about the legality of a suicide and them not being able to, give out his will or insurance, but I think that for that case, it would have devastated that case had they been ruled it a suicide, because it would have been able to, give the DA ammunition, basically saying, well, he was so sure that this case wasn't going to win that he killed himself. I think it would have put a nail in that case's coffin had they not made it look like it died of natural causes.
I was thinking the same thing, that part of it was maybe the case, because if the lawyer for this client commits suicide, it does not look good for the case.
Especially right after he went and visited her, like it was like the day prior that he went and saw her.
I really liked how, because I thought this myself, EB, there was such a love-hate thing going on, because the characters really did look at him as sort of this father figure, and Della and Mason both go into, them connecting with him when we're at low points in their lives. But, he was a shitty father. He was not connected with his family. He knew damn well that Della would be the one to find him. And, Perry Mason was even irritated by that. Like, man, that's fucked up. That you knew she was going to have to go through that.
Well, and I, like you said, the shitty father thing, he was a good father figure to people who were not his kids, but to his own kids and his own grandkids, he was not. Like, he never saw them. And I don't know if that took place maybe after the death of the mom, because I felt like that's what they were saying, that, after his wife passed away was when he became kind of recluse and stopped giving a shit about his family. And I think that, as that would be harder on the kids, they're dealing with the death of their parent too. And then for the one parent to just be like, all right, well, peace out. That makes it very hard on those dealing with that grief as well.
Yeah, I agree. I like how, connecting it to Perry Mason, he felt like he was being a failure to his son. He does a toast to shitty fathers. And he feels a need to go see his son, and it hurts him more because he sees that he's doing well without him. He's in what appears to be a stable home, and his ex-wife basically makes the case it's best that you're not here. And seeing that whole story arc with Perry Mason, it tied into EB and what I guess had been going on with him.
The only part that frustrated me with that had nothing to do with the show, because I think they did a good job, but I felt like maybe their relationship ended because he couldn't not do his job, and she felt like his job was not a legitimate or real job, because she went into the whole "you're not paying me," you are always working too much, you don't even have a real job. So I think that her bitterness isn't necessarily because of, it didn't feel like it was an infidelity thing that caused them to separate, but it became a he was just so caught up with his work that he never saw his kid, never saw his wife. So now I think that her frustration is, well, why the fuck are you making a point to come see him now? Which she did say. She was like, you haven't paid me in, this long, no birthdays, no Christmas, and now you just show up.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It it was interesting also that the show was willing to. It sets up, Ed. I believe it was Ed,
Yeah.
which is being the like the stepfather or whatever. And deep down, you want to dislike the guy because you're rooting, you're Team Perry. But then you meet the guy, and he seemed like a legit nice guy. There was, he didn't do anything that I would deem like that shitty. And so, but that's real world shit that, just because he's taking care of Teddy, and we're rooting for Perry Mason doesn't mean he's a bad guy. He may be a great father figure for Teddy.
Well, he came in, his first action was greeting the children. Even before he said anything to his wife or anything else, he was, playing with the kid. So to me, that showed that the kid was already playing outside, but he probably went, found the kid, brought him in, was talking to him. So it shows that, yeah, I don't have any ill will towards Ed, but I was talking about this too. And we've talked about the Matthew Rise or Reyes or whatever his
Yes.
last name is, how good he does at looking like shit.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's not just like makeup. It's his whole demeanor, his shoulders, like, because he did it in the Americans too. He would, like, 2 or 3 episodes where he's doing really good, feels really good about himself, feels like he was doing something good for his country. And then same thing here. There's parts where it looks like he's really, excited about his job and he's really gung ho. And then there's points where he looks like hell. And they do a great job. The actor does a great job of making you feel what he's feeling.
So we get a little more detail finally about Della Street. We find out she was MVP of this episode. She was in a lot of the scenes. She was pushing the main story forward, and it shows that the foundation of the Perry Mason brand is she built it or helped build it. But we find out that she comes from money. She came from a family that had money. She was set up to in an arranged marriage. She rejected it, ran off on her own, and that's when she found EB and became a secretary. So we get all that stuff from her. And then the fact that she's pushing so hard to protect and save Emily Dodson, what she's willing to do and what rules, I think she says something along the lines of nothing, not about legality, but what's right.
Well, that's what Perry said. Perry said
Yes.
that first, and he was talking about, it's not always about what's legal, but what's right. And because she said that to him right after the EB when they were, I think it was, I don't know whose place it was that it wasn't, but when they were sitting there and talking about that, and it came up again later, the reason she's fighting so bad because she feels it showed Emily getting her ass beat in jail. She knows that EB killed himself because of this case. So I think that she's got some guilt, but she's also just like, she feels driven now. She feels like this is her cause.
We get some more with Officer Drake. And we know from the original series, Drake is the detective. He is the primary. Go ahead.
Before we get away from Della, she forged the.
Yeah, I was gonna go back to that later.
No,
yeah. No, that we'll close with that,
Okay.
leading to the finale. But Drake, this is a guy. He's busted his ass to become a cop, and he's surrounded by injustice. He's treated like shit because of the color of his skin. He's sitting in on these civil rights talks. His wife has somewhat of a different stand. They should be. It's interesting seeing that conflict within their family. But then we have this scene on the beach and it's frustrating him, and he sees the injustice, and it's pushing him to want to make things right. And I think that, I'm assuming that's what's going to lead to him. I think he's going to tell the truth in the court. I think he's going to speak on behalf of Emily Dodson, which is going to cause issues for him in his career, which I think will lead to him joining Perry Mason.
I think so too. I don't know. I think his crew is going to be Pete
Mm-hmm.
and uh, Detective Drake, or not Detective Officer Drake. Although he may end up being Detective
Well,
Drake
he'll
because
be his investigator. Yeah.
yeah, but I think Paul and Pete are going to be the two investigators, and Emily's or not Emily,
Della.
Della's going to be Della. She's going to be doing a lot of the legwork, a lot of this stuff, and then Perry's going to be working on the cases like he has been this whole time. But I thought it was very interesting to see him talking about agreeing with his wife when she was uh, saying, there's some things you just can't change, there's some things you can't change. And he was like, well, I just agree with her. And you could tell he didn't, but he didn't want to get in a fight in public with
Yeah.
his wife. So then they go to the beach and they, and he was frustrated because he was like, it's a black beach. Like we were where we were supposed to be and you still kicked us out. And he said, and it didn't matter that I was an officer. He said, I was still disrespected and they still made us leave because it didn't matter because it was the color of my skin. I'm beneath him. And he was so upset. But I love the fact that at the end of that, his wife's like, yep, you're right. Whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is, however you want to do it, I'm behind you, which is what he was struggling with. It was the reason he didn't do what he wanted to do. It was the reason he punched Perry. It was because his wife
Yeah.
was like, hey, don't stand up against, Enos, don't stand up against the establishment. And now that she's on board, like you said, I think that he's going to turn a new leaf. He's going to change.
This episode was positioning all that team. Every character had that moment of looking at the world around them and saying it's bullshit, and we need to do something about it. And every character had that moment. Pete had the moment. Drake had the moment. Della had the moment. Perry had his whole rant in the kitchen, which led to what happens in the end. This was the episode that set up Perry Mason essentially.
Yeah, set up to me the future of, which hopefully there is. I've enjoyed it. So,
We had also, where are my notes at? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, Alice. uh, she was sprinkled throughout the episode. She bells out. She wants to bail out Emily. And I think what is it, $25,000, large sum of money. The church has split. It is in two now. There's those who think that she's has powers, through God, and those who think she's a heretic. And
well, and
go
I
ahead.
think that the cool part when they showed the speaking in tongues and all that stuff, I'm not a huge churchy person. So if someone knows the difference, I think that's Pentecostal is the big speaking in tongues like faction of Christianity. But
I don't know.
I think it is. I don't know for certain. But the ones outside who are basically like, she is a heretic. She is trying to steal money from you. When those people who are standing outside the church are just as guilty of that. But I think that it shows that they were true believers too. It's not just that they thought, you know, they're they're all out for money. But the
I
people who
yeah,
are standing outside, I think, truly believe that she's a heretic. Like
mm,
she is a liar, a fraud.
I I think yet again. I think I said something similar last week. I think Alice is a true believer. I don't think she's in it for the money. I think Alice truly thinks what she's doing is divine and is good. Um, I don't know. We know she has some medical conditions. We know she has seizures. We know that she started, doing tent revivals, and she was, healing services, etc. Stuff like that. But she
But I
also
think,
there was go ahead.
oh, I was going to say that to me, this goes back to Hollywood. I'm not going to say that she doesn't believe, but I think it's almost like a narcissist or a one of those things where she feels like she is the reason that everybody's coming to that church. She feels like she is the right hand of God. I think that she is full on delusions of grandeur. And because when she was speaking to that gentleman who she was healing, she's just like, get up, your legs are fine, and it wasn't, all right, get up now, we're done acting. Like she didn't hire that person. But on the same note, her losing her shit when all he did was kind of push himself up with his arms, and he never walked by himself. He was not healed at all. It was, the crowd was bracing him up.
It was a
The
show.
one,
Yeah.
yes. So now it doesn't mean that guy didn't believe also, because it looked like he was skeptical and then tried. So I don't think that gentleman was an actor, but it was a very good act. And throughout this episode, the mom, who I really don't know her name, she just calls her mother all the time. I don't know what her real name is or what her show's name is, but she looked pissed like the whole time. So I don't know if that's because she feels like she doesn't have power anymore,
I
or she
think
feels
it's
like Alex is too strong.
lack of control and not knowing where this is going. I think is part of it. Because I think you're right, Alice it has become absorbed in the idea that she is this special thing, but then there's that great moment at the gravesite when Emily, who now is a true believer of Alice's power, falls to her knees crying and then says, "Are we going to have to dig him up for you to bring him back?" And that look on Alice's face, like, "Oh shit, what have I said? What have I done?" Now,
Yeah,
it
because
was the
even
first
if you
time
can
she
bring,
realized.
yeah, even if you can bring life back to it, where you're going to bring his life back to a different child, like he can't he can't
It was
teleport out of the grave.
the first moment where she seemed to realize how insane what she said was. And and even if she believes in the thing she's doing, I don't think she believes she could bring fucking baby back from the dead. Not truly. I don't know. We'll see next episode. but the I love the look on her face. It's almost horrified, like, oh shit, I
I
did
did
say
make
that.
that promise.
It's like,
My
oh,
bad.
I'm very curious to where that's going. I said it last week. Wouldn't it be interesting if there was a twist where it wasn't Charlie, it was another baby, and Charlie's still alive or something?
I I think that's a possibility now more than ever, because, and I didn't think about that until you just said it, but I forgot that we talked about that last week. But think about, like you said, she looked horrified, because now to make Emily believe that she brought her kid back, they're gonna have to dig this baby up. So even if it's not her kid that got buried, even if it's not her kid that died, she believes it's her kid that died. So if it's not her baby, or like you said, if Charlie's somewhere else and they just bring him out and like, oh look, he's back to life, she's still gonna have to dig up a dead baby.
That I just my only reason I even come to that theory is I just don't know where that storyline's going. I have no idea where the Alice resurrecting Charlie storyline is going to go. Anyone listening to this, if you have a theory, any theory at all, please put it in the comments below. We'll definitely discuss it in the next episode, because yeah, that's the biggest question mark going into these last 3 episodes. How do you resolve that storyline? Obviously, this is not a supernatural show, so they're not going to have a zombie
Well, I
or
think
actual resurrection, but what are they going to do?
in the 30s there was no DNA, obviously, but if she's able to bring Charlie back to life, I'm doing the air quotes again, and once again, there's no camera on me, but it's they bring this child back to life, um, but there's still a dead baby. So, say Charlie's not dead. Say that they can basically make it to where this is part of the case. Like they are the reason she gets acquitted, because the baby's still alive. How can they prove that the baby that's dead is not her baby? How can they prove that the baby that's alive is her baby? You know, to me, there's a lot of question marks as far as that goes, because now if they don't bring the baby back, or if the church falls apart, or if they do bring the baby back, how is that playing into the case, which is what the main focus of this season has been? And I'm not 100% sure, which is okay. I just hope they show us. But
Yeah. Yeah. Why have that storyline where, you know, someone claims they're going to bring a baby back if there's not some kind of payoff, whether it's, like I said, Charlie's really alive, or are we just going to have Alice go insane at some point? Because I don't know. I'm very curious to where that's going. Did you see how good that piece of strawberry cake looked?
yes,
So this lawyer, Frank, who's working with the DA, and he's called in to take over Emily's case. I mean, they have this close up of this amazing ass piece of cake. The frosting looked good, all of it looked good. You could tell the actor seemed into it. Like, yeah, man, let's keep shooting, let's keep messing up these scenes, and I want to keep
bring me
eating
out
this
another
cake.
piece.
Yeah, that cake looked good. But I love the scene
I would have made
where
myself some ice cream and put like coconut on it instead of.
I love Perry Mason beating his ass. Like, that was a
Yes.
great scene. Just funny.
Well, we've talked about in our, the guest review, the John Wick stuff. When he pushed that book up against his neck like that, I was like, oh my God, is he going to snap his neck? Like, all I could think of immediately was John Wick.
He made the threat to
Yeah.
do just that. Yeah.
I was like, oh no, he's going to kill him. I'm like, how is he going to get away with that? But I did like the fact that the guy was trying to pull his weight, but the fact that the little Frank guy was trying to pull his weight showed where his loyalties lied. It didn't, help his case anywhere. He's like, I'm the one on this case. That's not his fucking office. So for him to be, I'm the one in charge here. No, you're not. And I love that Perry just lost his shit on him.
Was this the first? There was two things that stood out as not odd, but just I didn't catch in past episodes. Is this the first time they've acknowledged prohibition in this episode?
I don't know that this is the first time they've acknowledged it. I like the fact that they made it more of a focus this episode, because he's drinking all the time.
Yes. Yeah, but this was like the first episode where I recall them specifically, making the statement that, it's illegal.
Yeah, I think it's the first statement, but they've showed a lot of him basically being sneaky.
Yeah.
He did say something to Pete in one of the earlier episodes, because like he was drinking from a flask too, and he said something like, "You got to be careful," and he's just like, "I'm okay," and I wasn't 100% sure. I wasn't 100% sure as to whether that time frame lined up or not, because I know
it does.
It was in what, 1919 or
it was 1920, somewhere around there, and it ended in like 30. I want to say like 33, 34, 35. It was like early to mid 30s. It ended.
Yeah, just enough time for all the organized crime to be.
This was 32. This is the beginning of 32, so it should be right close to ending.
Well, and like he said, it's not illegal for me to drink it. It's just illegal for me to buy it, purchase it, make it,
move it.
Yep.
The other thing was the lighted cross in the church. Looks like a neon lighted cross. It's like, did those exist in the early 30s? I don't know.
I don't know.
I just noticed it in this episode. I think it's been in all of them, but it just stuck out to me this time. And I was like, wait, did that shit exist? I guess.
I'm sure. I don't know what was inside of it, whether it was mercury or actually, like, I have no idea what was. I'm sure if it broke, it'd probably kill somebody. But
yeah, it's like I'm watching a 9 Inch Nails video or something. This fucking neon cross.
I was thinking the Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah.
We are not reviewing that.
Please.
No.
You
I did, but I've seen that movie way. I don't know why teachers back in the 90s thought
that was a better version.
You could just show that movie. That counted as a class assignment.
I think they figured we'd just pay attention because it wasn't the oh Romeo. Like they tried
It's
to
sort of. I mean,
modernize it with guns
yeah,
and
same
cars and.
guns
Although I
and
do remember wanting that car, the one with like the little half windshield.
the guns were cool. The
Yeah.
plates on them and everything. I mean, the style of it was neat, but no, yeah, no. Uh, damn it! I haven't thought of that movie in a long time.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So where were? Oh yeah. So yeah, we get to the end, and Perry is going off in the kitchen. Sounds like a lawyer, speaking to a jury, and Della just has that moment of that epiphany. He's the guy. And she forges documents basically stating that Perry Mason has been an apprentice to EB for 2 years, and that all he needs is to take the bar exam and pass it to be a licensed lawyer, defense attorney, and that all takes place. He's assisted by Hamilton Berger, who is a deputy district attorney who is gunning for the DA's seat. I looked it up in the original 50 series. He is the DA.
Well, that makes sense too, because I'm sure that their relationship will play an important role later. Even if they aren't on the same page, I think that they'll probably end up helping each other. But clearly, this DA is going to either, like he said, I think he said he was trying to be a governor or a senator or something. The current DA.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's going to go down, and all this shit's going to be revealed that he was doing all this crooked stuff, and you find out, and the DA is going to go down after this, or if he does move up to be governor, senator, or whatever. I am interested to see where he's going to end up too.
Yeah, this was, like I said, moving all the pieces in place. I thought we had 5 more episodes. We only have 3, which is like I said, a little disheartening, but at the same time maybe exciting, because that means we're gonna have probably 3 fiery courtroom episodes. Just shit on the edge. I think it's gonna be a real exciting 3 episodes.
I do too. I think that it's not just exciting, but you look at how it's set up. You're gonna either Enos is gonna go down, or he's gonna lose his shit, or you'll find out, who is behind certain things. Murder trials, which is what this is, aren't one day sitting in the courtroom and being like, okay, well, I have these 3 things of evidence saying that it's not, because you still have to prove beyond a ponderance of a doubt or whatever, preponderance. But back then there's no DNA, so it's literally testimony and physical evidence. So I'm sure it was a lot harder to convince a jury one way or the other. So seeing how the courtroom aspect takes place back in those days, I'm interested to see how they portray it.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing everyone fall into their roles, and seeing like Drake come in and joining the team, and just how all that's going to play out. So yeah, 3 weeks left, and then we'll jump into the Lovecraft Country. So we'll be continuing. Anything else on this episode?
The only thing was I was laughing and talking to my wife about it. I was like, so this is what kids did before they had cell phones, was running through graveyards and hurdling gravestones.
I wrote that in my notes about that scene, but I just decided not to bring it up. Yeah, that was interesting.
I couldn't stop laughing because I was like, holy shit. Because I was always told, like, you don't walk on people's graves. You walk through the rows, you stand, next to the one you're visiting, and then you walk through the rows back out. Like, you don't. These kids were like, fuck it. Just hurdling gravestones, and I thought it was really funny.
Yeah. The actor, whoever played EB's son, did a hell of a job emulating John Lithgow. I don't know if that's really his kin, because the way his mannerisms, the way he spoke, had felt like John Lithgow a lot.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Shit, dude. I don't. What's CB's last? Uh, I don't know. You
I'll
just.
tell you in a second. I'm looking
He's
it up.
looking it up. But yeah, so this is, if you're new to the channel, this is Pulp Mythos, and definitely subscribe, hit the bell, do all that stuff, hit the like button. We appreciate that. Had a lot of likes in the last couple of videos, and that definitely helps with the algorithm, getting this video out there. Like I said, we're going to continue with Lovecraft Country, so we're going to be, after that, um, what was it, The Mandalorian. We discussed even doing The Boys, which would take instead of doing Friday movie reviews during that run, we would do The Boys. So a lot of content coming up, and Larry will be joining us for the Lovecraft Country reviews. If you want to go back and watch our Hamilton review, you can hear the three of us talking on that one.
I can't find him.
Can't find him. Okay.
I don't remember what his name was. Was it Flint?
Dude, I don't remember.
I think it was Flint. That's the only guy I can think of. It's the one that looks like him.
Yeah, he favored him, and it was his, the way he spoke. I don't know. I was like, wow, that's impressive that if that's not legitimately John Lithgow's son or something, that this actor tried to, sort of emulate him a little bit.
It was definitely not that guy I just looked up, because that dude was 6'7", and he was not that much taller. Although it could have been shit. John Lithgow's like 6'4", 6'5".
I think he's a tall dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
But all right. Appreciate y'all listening, and we will see you next time. Oh, and don't forget the guest, the 35-minute mark.
I think it was 37.2 or something bullshit.
That's the uncut version.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the one that's on YouTube, it's 35. It's like 35.7 seconds or something like that. 35 minutes 7 seconds for the actual fall. But I'd go 35 minutes to hear the setup.
Yeah, it's not quite as good as the Grape Lady.
No, it's not that long. It's you
say
say something that's hilarious. I can't remember what it is.
I was talking about the crickets.
You're like, something for real. No, it's after that when you fall. You're like, for real. Where's? I
was like, I fucked my leg up for real.
Yeah. But all right, we'll see you. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.